Hi guys, and welcome to this edition of Life Experience Sunday. Last week you heard the story of Emma's pregnancy and birth. Now she's had 4 babies. Hats off to that lady, because I don't think I could sit even through one pregnancy. But we heard from her point of view, and I figured that there's not many videos out there that tell the story from the point of view from the dad. Now, when I came into this relationship with Emma, she already had 2 young children. One was 7, that was Nicholas, and Martin was 4 years old at that time. I was 22 years old. So I'm going to start off with my experience as becoming a stepdad and what I thought about that. One of the hardest decisions for any mother that has any children is obviously, is their new partner going to be right for their family? Is this person going to be fitting in with that family unit? Are the children going to be acceptance of that person? In my mind, I'm sat there thinking, are these children going to like me? I was never there to change their minds about their own father. I was never there to replace their father. I was just there as a friend, and that's what I became. I worried so much whether or not I was going to be capable of looking after 2 relatively young children. My time with them is continuing. I don't see them any different to Koby and Antonia. Them 2 are just as special as my own 2 kids. 22 years old is still quite young for having any type of child, whether it be a stepchild or your own. But I took it. I thought, there's nothing wrong with taking on somebody else's children. I get on with the dad. So that was a really big bonus. There was never any hostility between me and the children's natural father. I took it like a duck to water. A year or so into mine and Emma's relationship, we decided that we were going to have a baby, and we didn't mind what it was going to be. We just wanted a baby. I've always wanted 2 children, 1 of each, and I've got that. I was fortunate to get 1 of each, but I don't see it that way. In my head, I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and I will always think that. But we decided we were going to have Koby, and this was something completely new to me. I'd already brought up or started to bring up 2 young children from Emma's previous relationship. So I had some experience about how to look after toddlers or young primary school children. Well, we decided we were going to have one of our own, something completely new, new territory to me. I've never changed a nappy in my life, or a diaper if you're in America. It was probably one of the most scariest things that I ever thought was going to ever happen as a parent. Emma finally got pregnant, which was fantastic news. I was over the moon. I was going to be a proper, I was going to be a dad, a biological dad. And it was like, wow, it was a whole life changer. I had to grow up. I had to grow up anyway because of the 2 boys, but I needed to grow up more. I was going to be responsible in 9 months' time for a little tiny person. This is not a little dolly that you see in the toy store and you know, just press the try me button. This thing really cries, and you know, this was going to be my life for the next however many 18 years, you know. And so you know, she got pregnant, and the whole experience for me was, I don't know, it was surreal. You knew that the little tester thing said that it was going to be a positive, and it was pregnant, and you know, you're trying to process that in your mind, and it's really, you don't know whether it's real, you don't know whether it's you're dreaming. It's kind of a weird feeling as a dad, as first time ever. And it wasn't until the first scan, we had the first scan, I think it's about a 3 month thing, and seeing this little peanut, yeah, seeing this little peanut on the screen with a little heartbeat, you know, boom, boom, you know, it was just like, wow, that's my baby. That is my child. I've created that, and it was really, really great. Now, I am a warrior, you know, not a warrior, a worrier, and knowing after that first scan that I'd seen this baby growing inside of Emma's belly, all of a sudden I'm like, you can't eat that, you can't do this, we can't go and do that. Have you got your seatbelt on correctly in the car? It was like, you know, Emma would become ill, and I'm like, oh, can you take that medicine? I don't think you can if you're pregnant. You really got to be, you know, that was me. And Emma's like, oh, it's fine, I can do this, and forgetting that Emma had already gone through 2 pregnancies in the past. So yeah, I forgot that Emma had been through all this previous 2 times before. She knew what she was doing. She was completely and utterly prepared, whereas I wasn't. You know, I'm 23 years old at this point, and I'm about to have the biggest thing in my life ever happen to me. You know, I'm going to be responsible for my own flesh and blood. I was already responsible, as I keep saying this, I was already responsible for 2 others, but when it's your own, it's a completely different story. So I kind of bubble wrapped Emma hugely in a lot of the things that we did as a family and a group. So yeah, it was the stupidest things that I completely worried about. But as the pregnancy went on, it was, you know, the belly got bigger, the main event was going to happen. And I'd ran the trip through across so many times in my head about how was I going to get her to the hospital. I made sure my car was mechanically sound, made sure I had petrol in it. And this was like 3 months before the actual main event. I didn't need that. I didn't need to do that, but that's what I felt that had to happen. Emma, in her video, she spoke about some crazy craving. Bacon and beetroot sandwiches. Now, I still cannot to this day understand why that was her craving. She still talks about, I mean, any time that woman now speaks about bacon and beetroot sandwiches, all of a sudden, ding 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 ding, is she pregnant? Is my wife pregnant again? Because that's like, that was her pregnancy food. And it was like, I don't know why she went for that. Anyway, but yeah, that came on. It wasn't a craving that she had, I don't think, all the way through. This was like the last 3 to 4 months worth of pregnancy that this is what she started craving. Totally weird. I don't understand how the the female body can all of a sudden create this child inside, but also have a craving for the most bizarrest of foods in the world. I know there's mothers out there that have completely and utterly totally different cravings. Some are completely off the scale, some are completely, normal. I guess a bar of chocolate or something. It's just one of those life mysteries. As a man, I'm never going to actually figure it out. We decided with this particular pregnancy that we were going to find out what sex we were going to have. And when I found out that it was going to be a boy, I was, wow, my own son. This is the heir to my throne. This is the person that's going to continue my family name through generations, further on. So I was over the moon to have a son, and it was amazing. I remember the day that Emma, went into labour. And it's as clear as it is in my head. The timings of what... Yeah, I do know the timings. I remember it was around about 11 o'clock-ish. I was on the phone to my brother. We were just talking about Grand Theft Auto or some kind of, PlayStation game. And Emma shouted down and said, "My waters are broken." And I'm like, "Oh, right. Okay, then." And I said to my brother, I says, "Well, Emma's water's broken, I guess I must be going now, Anyway, he got off the phone and gave the phone to her. We didn't have, we didn't have these things in them days. The cell phones they were around, but, nobody really used them. So the house phone is the only thing that we had. So I got off the phone to my brother and gave Emma the phone so she can phone the hospital and kind of arrange for when we were supposed to be going in, and they told her, "We're not ready. You're not ready to come in, it's only the waters." And the contractions, whatever they were, were so far apart that it just wasn't worth it. So I got really excited for a little bit of nothing. So I went back to the phone and phoned my brother again. And I think we had about another 2-hour conversation. It was completely mad. But Emma went to bed. I went to bed, and next thing I know, I'm being kicked out of bed. Russell, the baby's coming. This is going to be 5:30, something like that in the morning. I was like, I'm in the land of Nod. There is just no freaking way that anybody was going to really arouse me or get me up, sorry. It just wasn't happening. So there's me, blurry-eyed. All of a sudden she said the baby's coming. That was it. Boom. I'm awake. I'm out of bed. I'm dressed. Done my teeth. I gets the boys down to Emma's sisters, who only lived, literally 10 minutes away. So got them down there, and I raced through the streets. When I got back to I raced through the streets. I got Emma's kids off, Nick and Martin, off to their sisters, or Emma's sisters, sorry, and raced all the way back home to make sure that Emma was going to be fine, and got a bag, chucked them in the car, chucked Emma in there as well, just for for good measure. Made sure I didn't forget her, and we were 20 miles away from the hospital. Now I'm going to admit to speeding here. This was the first time I have ever experienced a woman in labour, and I had no idea what to expect. Or I didn't even know how long these labours were going to last. These things just I thought you see them on the telly, they go into labour, and next thing you know, there's a baby. So I wasn't sure if that was going to happen to us. So I put the pedal to the metal, and I was doing 120 down the motorway. My lights were on, I was flashing my headlights, I was really gunning for it. I don't think, we have roundabouts here in the UK, and I'm hitting these things at 40, 50 mile an hour. I'm just and I'm not stopping, because nothing was going to stop me from getting to that hospital. If a Mr. Policeman came along, I don't even think I'd have stopped for him, because my concentration was getting to that hospital. I actually made the hospital in 7 minutes. 20 miles in 7 minutes that was a good feat, especially for the car that we had at the time. One of my memorable moments from that trip was I'm driving, my hands are like gripping to the steering wheel, and I'm concentrating on the drive, and I looks over and Emma's there. She's got the seat belt, and I had shoulder pads, like the rally drivers have. So I had those shoulder pads, and she's got one in her mouth. She's like really chewing on the damn thing. So I speed up, get to the hospital, and I just parked in the ambulance bay. I didn't know where to park. I wasn't going to be paying for parking either. I was just going to get my wife there. And in fact, actually, no, she wasn't my wife at the time. She was my girlfriend. But I got her there, and she got in the room, and I think it was about 10 minutes later that little Koby came into this world. And it was really bizarre. It was the worst thing I have ever seen, but it was also the most amazing thing that I'd ever seen. I was curious, so I took a look. I took a peek, and there was this head, and it was like, to go into this is going to be a little bit, no, it's not going to be graphic, but it was gross, but at the same time it was amazing. And wow, there was this little life just pushing his way into this world, and next thing he was there. A couple of things I was a little bit disappointed. Nobody asked me if I wanted to cut the umbilical cord. I always thought that was a thing. My friends have always said they cut theirs, and you see them in the movies or you see them on the TV shows. No, nobody asked me if I wanted to cut the umbilical cord. It was just like, yep, snip, there you go, there's your son. Wow. And that was great. The whole main event was fantastic. My son was in the room. My wife was doing okay. She did go into a bit of shock where she was shaking a little bit. Well, actually a lot. But yeah, she did really well. That was one of probably the most proudest days in my life, was seeing this little newborn baby, my son. I'll never forget it. I will never forget that time. I'm going to move on to Antonia's. When we decided, we got married a little bit later on, and we decided that we'd like to have a second baby. And Emma had already been under operations with her knees. She suffers with arthritis, and she has a few other bits and problems with her lumbar spine. The discs are actually collapsing and fusing and so forth. So we were kind of unsure whether or not a second baby, or her fourth baby, would be something that we could feasibly do for her health. But we went ahead with it anyway. What will be, what will be. And the day that she told me, I was like, wow, I really, really, I was more excited for this one than I was with Koby's. And I don't know why. It was just like, but I also, I knew that she was pregnant before she told me. There was just some sort of feeling that I got that, okay, Emma's pregnant, and I'm just going to wait for her to tell me. In fact, I think I told her to go and buy a pregnancy test. When she did, came back positive. I was right, she was happy, I was happy, the whole family were happy. You know, it was great. And throughout the pregnancy, this one wasn't a bad pregnancy, but a little bit further on, I guess maybe 7 months into the pregnancy, she her hips decided to, I guess, move apart. SPD, I think they call it. And it's where the hips kind of pull apart and it's getting ready for, you know, the baby to fall into and come out and so forth. But that meant that she had to walk around on crutches. She was very unstable on her feet. I had to help her in and out of a bath. You know, it was difficult. You know, for Emma to get around and actually do things. Because every time she moved, the hips moved, and that caused the pain. I remember getting to the scan, the first scan, again it was another little tiny peanut, and really, you know, you could see this head and its little legs, and it was fantastic. The second one we went to, obviously a little bit bigger, you could see a little bit more clearly. We were asked if we wanted to have the baby sexing, and we chose not to. I already knew what we were going to have. I knew it was going to be a girl. There was no doubt in my head that this was going to be a girl. And I kept this up from the day that we found out that she was pregnant, that we were having a girl. There was no doubt in my mind. So I didn't need to have the sexing. So we didn't have the sexing. And I have to say that this one was a little bit more, it was like Christmas, you know. Even though in my head I knew what we were having, you weren't kind of completely 100% sure whether that was going to be. And even if we'd have had a boy, we'd have still loved it the same way as we love Antonia now. It just really wouldn't have mattered whether or not, as long as the baby was healthy, what else matters? But my head, it was a girl. Emma, well, I don't think she was convinced. I think she thought it was going to be a boy. She was big. She was, I think the baby was forward, and I think if it's a girl, it's in the back or whatnot. Although I don't really believe in any of that kind of, you know, it is what it is, you know, regardless of where it is positioned. But so we you know, as I said, chose not to have the sexing, and we went through the pregnancy. Now, weirdly, Emma didn't have any cravings with this one. There was no bacon and beetroot, which I actually fully expected. I thought this was going to be a thing. I knew about her craving with Martin and the McDonald's and the milkshakes. There was no way I'm driving to a McDonald's milkshake in the middle of the night for a McDonald's milkshake, sorry, in the middle of the night. Not going to happen. But I suppose it would have done because she'd have beaten me with a stick anyway, so I'd have gone anyway. But yeah, nothing. The only thing that she really detested is my extreme love of coffee. I'm a huge fan of coffee. I have, although not lately, but I will drink probably about 6 to 7 cups of coffee, mugs of coffee, sorry, a day. Sometimes more depending on what I'm doing. If I'm at the PC, it's coffee every hour. But yeah, she used to make my coffee in the morning, and you can guarantee there was going to be that definite morning sickness. If I made coffee in the afternoon and it wafted towards her, you can guarantee that she was going to be running out of that room. She really hated coffee. I don't think she went off anything else. I think it was just the coffee. And apart from the SPD, the coffee, everything else on there went really perfect for her. For me, again, I went through the bubble wrap stage, you know, more so with this one because I knew she was on her crutches, so there's a lot of things that I didn't want her doing, a lot of things that I had to help her do with. Again, I didn't sleep in the bed. I don't think I slept in the bed the whole pregnancy, just in case I rolled over wrongly and squished her. You know, it was really bizarre. It's not that I didn't want to be there, but I really did want to be there. But it was just not gonna. In my head, I was gonna squash her. So yeah, it was a lot of bubble wrap. Although, you know, Emma would have like, you know, a cold or a sore throat or something. I didn't worry about things as much then than I did with Koby. But it was fantastic. I enjoyed the. I'm not one for going out clothes shopping or, you know, following people around clothes shopping. It's just kind of, I like to go in, knowing what I want before I get in there, go in, get what I want, and then straight back out of the shop again. I can't be hanging around thinking, oh yeah, this item looks really nice. Yeah, we'll try that on. I can't, nah. You go in, you buy what you want, you come out. I know there's fitting rooms and that, but you don't need to be in my opinion, you don't need to be taking 40 items into the fitting room just to try it on. Waste of time. However, when it comes to babies, spend all the time you like, because I tell you what, there is some amazing outfits out there. And I was looking, I've never bought for a girl, I've never had a girl. I knew we were having a girl, even though we didn't know because we weren't officially told. But I was adamant it was going to be a girl. So I was always walking around the girls' aisle. So, you know, there was these pretty dresses, there was these cool little outfits and things. I really wanted to kind of make her the... I guess the one that everybody wants to be like, I guess. So I wanted to go into all these stores, and it didn't really matter how much these things cost, I was going to have them. I think we did buy unisex outfits, you know, things that would work with a boy and a girl, didn't really matter, but they were great. And we of course had a lot of the unisex stuff that we had from, you know, from Koby. The main event, when that came, you know, was absolutely movie comical. It really was. Emma, her waters, she told me that she'd gone into labour. I'd phoned my mum, you know, said, Mum, can you come down, look after the kids? You know, she agreed, that was our arrangement. And she turned up at, oh gosh, I think it was about 6:30, something like that in the morning. And my mum had arrived, I said the quick hello, just shoved Emma in the car with the bags, got in the car. Now, we had a Ford Galaxy people carrier at this point, and it was old. It was 1996, so it was about the same age as what Nicholas was. And it was a jalopy. This thing was horrid. It was huge, it was horrid, it seen better days, but it's the only thing we could afford. And we got in this car, and it was a wet morning. It had been raining. I, you know, we were on the phone on the driveway to the hospital, and we're like, we're never going to get to 20 miles to the hospital. So they diverted us to the nearest one, which was about 7 miles away. And that wasn't too bad. So I drove through the streets. In fact, I was driving over speed bumps without slowing down. That probably really didn't help Emma at all. I knew nothing about the stages that Emma was going through. All I just knew is she was in pain, screaming. She was telling me that I'm an idiot. I need to get to the hospital as fast as I can. And, you know, that's what I did. I drove a little bit like Vin Diesel drove in the movie The Pacifier, when he was driving his little minivan and he was literally drifting a minivan. I was drifting our minivan around the roundabouts, around the islands, just trying to get this thing. And I get to the road, the final road, to the hospital, and I got there and it was blocked. I was like, what? The road closed because they were resurfacing and they were putting some new pipes, so there was like, you know, holes and everything in there. There was no way I was going to get through it. And I'm panicking. How am I going to get her to the hospital now? I don't know the area that we lived in very well, so I put the car in reverse, back onto the roundabout. The lights were red, there was 2 cars already in the way, you know, and I went straight through the middle of them. Straight through the middle, through the red lights, and just bombed it down the motorway. Got to the hospital, parked up, and I said, you know, do you want me to go and get the nurse? Silliest thing that you could have ever have asked, you know, do you want me to go and get the midwife or the nurse? And I got answered, well, that's what we're here for, isn't it? So I gets out of the car, runs up to the doors, grabs the nearest nurse. That I didn't actually grab her, but you know, told her that we needed her straight away, and got down to the car. I got pushed out of the way. I didn't even see any of it. All I know is that Emma was in the passenger seat, surrounded by midwives and nurses and all that sort of stuff. And next thing I know, there's this pink thing being wrapped up and ran up the little slipway that takes you into the entrance of the maternity ward. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I couldn't hear any crying. You know, there was no crying, there was nothing. They just took this little bundle and just ran. And I'm like, wow, what's going on, you know? Eventually the doctors put Emma in a chair, took her up there, and I locked the car up and eventually followed and finally found out that we had a very healthy young baby girl. So I knew all the way through the pregnancy I was going to have a girl, and I had a girl. She is the apple of my eye. Even though she's a monster and naughty at times, there's not much that she can do wrong in my eyes. She knows how to work way around her little finger, but I think that's just a daddy-daughter trait anyway. Most daughters know how to run their fathers around their fingers or so forth. But she was great, she was healthy. I think there was a little bit of I didn't mention earlier, but I think when I came to collect Koby, he was in an incubator. Antonia had to go into one for a short while, but it wasn't too big of a deal. But again, it was another body, another person that I had created, and yeah, it was one of the most memorable, both of the pregnancies that Emma had and the births were probably the most memorable time for me. And I'm glad I experienced them. I didn't experience, as I said earlier, I didn't experience them with Martin or Nicholas. But I'm really, really grateful and thankful to Emma that she wanted another 2 children that gave me that experience of pregnancy and birth. It's just one of those, I think everyone's going to be different. You know, I don't think every pregnancy can be the same. The way that I feel is not the way that somebody else is going to feel, obviously. But it is one of the most amazing experiences that anybody can have, and it's not the same as watching a pet. I've watched our cats being born, I've watched animals on the farm that I used to live on being born, and as much as that's amazing to see new life coming into the world, when it's your own children, your own babies, it is a whole new experience, a whole new world. Would I do it again? I want to. I'd love to have one more. Although maybe I am getting a little old. I'm 38 in August, and you know, could I really think about another one? Maybe we'll go down the adoption route. That's a possibility. Me and Emma have spoken about it. If we go down the adoption route, then maybe I won't even experience a birth again on that one. But you know, it wouldn't really matter either way, as long as it was a healthy baby at the end of it. So yeah, for me, from the dad's point of view, from the male point of view, pregnancy was, I want to say pregnancy is really easy, and it is easy because I don't have to do any of the hard work, in the sense of I don't have to carry it, I don't have to push, but I do see how my wife felt and had to deal with things and how her struggles were, so I know how hard it is just from how she was. I would not want to get, like I've said before, no way on this world would I ever choose to be pregnant myself, or you know, give birth myself. And I think most men are on that same on that same level. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and fair play to you men out there that want to get pregnant, but yeah, not for me. I don't think I could manage that one. So yeah, that is my experience of pregnancy and birth as a male, as a father, as a dad. So if you have got to this stage of the video and you are a dad and you've gone through pregnancy and birth, let us know in the comments. Link your video in the comments as well. We'll watch them, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see from a dad's point of view. To anybody out there that is new, that's going to be a dad, don't be afraid. You know, it's the most natural thing that's ever going to happen in your life. It's going to be the most wonderful and most amazingly beautiful thing that you'll ever see. Probably not best to take a look, just let it happen. But if you do look, you know, that's down to you. Make sure you're prepared and work with your partner. Whoever it is that you're having a baby with, work with them, get down a proper birthing plan, know where the hospital is, know where you have to do, couple of dry runs if you have to, make yourself, you know, 100% sure that you know what's going to do. Now, even though I knew where the hospitals were, we were not quite 100%, you know, prepared with Antonia's. She was born inside the car, and you know, if we'd have prepared a little bit sooner perhaps, or I don't know, there's a lot of ifs and buts and so forth. I think it's great that she was born in the car, although the guy cleaning the car didn't. So yeah, get yourself down a plan, know where you're going, know what you're doing, know what your partner wants, and enjoy the pregnancy. Your partners are not needed to be bubble wrapped. They don't need to be mollycoddled or whatever it is that they call it. Let your partners be. They know what they're doing, they know how their body works, and don't be scared, don't be frightened. When the birth comes, enjoy it. When the baby's there, enjoy it even more, because it's probably going to be the biggest thing and the best thing that you will ever experience in your life. And with that, I'm going to end today's Life Experience Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, please click the like button. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, The Dry Family, please click subscribe. We are going to be continuing the Life Experience Sundays for the time being. Next week, not quite sure what the topic is going to be, but we are going to be sitting down, myself and Emma, and talk about our life experiences. So for me, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.